Welcome to Community Crypto on CoinDesk TV, where we are building a global community with local crypto groups. I'm your host, Isaiah Jackson, and every week we'll explore how crypto is creating and impacting various communities around the world. This week, we meet the women in crypto who are making an impact around the globe. And today, I'm joined by Nisa Amoils, managing partner at A100X and a top 100 woman in fintech winner, Tavonia Evans, creator of Guap, a cryptocurrency created to amplify the economic voice of the Black community, and Cleve Mesidor, a former President Obama appointee and leader of the National Policy Network for Women of Color in Blockchain. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Happy to be here.
Happy to be
Oh, yeah. Glad to have you all, definitely. And I definitely want to hear the genesis story for everybody, for my viewers, so people can see how you got involved in the space and, what was it like, being a woman coming into the crypto space, which is normally male dominated. And I'll start with you, Nisa.
So my background is I started out as a corporate and securities attorney. And then after that, I worked in media for a while under Barry Diller. And I have been in venture capital for over a decade now. I started out investing in general tech, and then I joined a fund that was investing in crypto and blockchain. And then I, for the last 5 years, have been doing just that. And it was obviously, yes, I was always one of very few women in the room. So I think that's still the case.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And Tavonia as well. What was your genesis story into the space? I know you're an OG, so you definitely have a great beginning story.
Well, yeah, I've been in tech for a long time. I won't say how long anymore until my age. But I've been in tech for a while. My first startup was doing very well, but we ran into the obstacles of being able to raise that capital to scale to the next level. And that's definitely something that catapulted me into the blockchain world, because I saw how blockchain was being used to raise capital for tech. So I was like, oh, gosh, yes, we need this. And diving a little bit deeper into it, I also saw how many other solutions blockchain would be capable of solving for the community, for the Black community in general. So I was like, oh, just head first. I was ready to go in. Admittedly, I'd known about Bitcoin for quite a while, and I didn't pay a lot of attention to it like many other people did. But when it clicked, it clicked. and then I was like, Absolutely. Oh, it clicked for me as a creator. I said, yes, this is something that we can build on and build something for our community. Absolutely.
I love it. And Cleve, let us know how you got started in the space.
Yeah, so first I have to represent Howard. I'm a Howard University alum and an AKA, so ski with all my stores out there, you know.
Nice. Oh, yeah, HU, AKAs, baby.
Yes. But my genesis story comes from Washington. I actually was, in addition to the Obama administration, I worked on Capitol Hill. I worked on presidential campaigns. Well, during the Obama administration is when I first heard about Bitcoin. A good friend reached out and asked me if I would help him with a press release for a Bitcoin project. That was in 2013. Helped with the press release, didn't know that much about it, but I stayed engaged. And around 2015, 2016, when the conversation expanded to what the technology was for, and I got in love with intellectual property rights and protections, and also, identity management. And I started a startup. But around 2017, because of the regulatory conversation, I've been able to merge my two worlds. So now I focus on crypto and public policy.
Love it. Love to hear it. And again, we all start somewhere, right? No matter when you get in, the space is definitely addictive. And Nisa, I want to talk to you for a second. You are the author of the bestseller, WTF is Happening, Women Tech Founders on the Rise. And love that title. And, I just wanted to ask, how can crypto specifically empower women tech founders?
Right. So I wrote that book in 2019, and I profiled 13 female founders. And most of them were in blockchain technology. Some of them were in artificial intelligence and some tangential areas. And the reason is because women still receive only 2% of all venture funding. and they were outperforming. And so it really was not even the moral imperative argument. It was more of, this is business sense. This is an arbitrage opportunity. These founders are undershopped and undervalued, and they over-deliver. And so what I've seen in crypto is the alternative capital formation outside of the traditional structure and the systemic barriers that hold these groups back. And that, we've seen that, of course, happen in peer-to-peer transactions and in DeFi, but we've also seen it in crowdfunding. We've seen it in the ICO boom, even though that had some regulatory challenges. And so I think that there are lots of different ways now to democratize the space, and that's really important.
And I'm glad you brought that up as far as raising capital, because Tavonia, you mentioned before, building a cryptocurrency from scratch is not easy at all. And the capital you need to move forward. Tell us, some of the challenges you have faced in the space, and maybe how you can get over those challenges. Maybe you and Nisa can team up. You want to invest in women? Hey, you got a women project. So let us know, making connections here on Community Crypto. Let us know, some of the challenges you had getting Guap Coin off the ground.
Well, definitely capital. It's funny because I left one startup because of capital and then jumped into another one. But the beautiful thing about it is what I learned about this space is that the value comes from the community. So if you can't build the capital, build the community. So and building the community takes a lot longer, but it's doable. So we were able to kind of follow in footsteps of Bitcoin, and that's build the community organically. That we were forced to do that. So that there's no ifs, ands, buts about it. But coming into this space with capital, of course, is extremely helpful. A lot of the other projects that came in with capital are the ones that are doing fairly well now because they were able to get into other ecosystems, get on exchanges, get into wallets, and people tend to think that those things are free, and they're not. So, I learned a lot about the process, and this is something that a lot of people on the front end, they don't know a lot about, the cost of, actually creating a cryptocurrency and getting it out there. It's still a cost. Even though it's still money, it's a cost to do so.
Absolutely. And what were some of the startups you mentioned? What were those startups?
Well, I founded a company called Safe to Meet, which was actually supposed to be the world's first peer-to-peer verification platform. And we used to verify if someone was safe in less than 5 minutes. So if you were going out and you were meeting somebody or you were going on Craigslist, et cetera, you would use Safe to Meet to verify this person's safety.
We need to bring that project back. Let's do it.
I do. I do.
I mean, if there's a time we need it, it's definitely now. And just switching a little bit to Cleve, you have worked on Capitol Hill. You've been around the policy making for the last 4 years. One thing I'm interested to know is how are women impacting this policy on Capitol Hill for crypto and blockchain regulation?
Well, obviously, there's a gender issue everywhere, definitely in tech and crypto, but also in public policy. We've seen for blockchain, the regulatory conversation is very important, and the regulators tend not to be diverse. But I will tell you that the women in Washington who are focused on blockchain are holding it down. So shout out to Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett, who was the first, female member on the Congressional Blockchain Caucus and has been really, really, really pounding the pavement and supporting innovators of color. We need Washington to create a regulatory environment where innovators can succeed right here. I'm a big fan of Tavonia's and Guap coins, so we want her to get the funding. But our challenge is the fact that most people in Washington don't see people like us, meeting with them, scheduling meetings. So some of the work I do is try to get as many innovators of color to meet members of the Black Congressional Caucus, Hispanic Caucus, Asian Pacific American Caucus, because they have to see people who look like them from their congressional districts who are building products and services, because that's what's at stake, right? So as they hold the big companies accountable, great, but don't create an environment where smaller micro enterprises cannot scale and cannot thrive.
Absolutely. And just touch on for me briefly, what are some of the policies that are in place now that could help empower the crypto and blockchain industry? Because, everybody likes to rag on regulators and say we don't need them. But in order for some people to feel comfortable, what are some of the things that are being worked on now? Maybe a blockchain sandbox? What types of things?
Yeah, so obviously it's a new Congress that just started. The Biden administration started. So when you look at all of the regulatory agencies, OCC, SEC, CFTC, the leadership are changing on all of them. So even in Washington, when you look at the bills we have been talking about, there's been about 30 bills introduced between the Senate and the House. Some of them will be reintroduced this year. Some of them will not be. Because right now, it's actually, bills are being introduced to have a conversation, to start talking about this. Now, we've had a few bills be introduced, but this is the opportunity for innovators of color to have some of these conversations. So we're really waiting to see what bills get reintroduced. There was a controversial bill last year that will not get introduced, what we don't think will get introduced, which is a good thing. But we are at the starting line in terms of legislation. We're waiting to see, the signals from the Biden administration. Obviously, SEC, Secretary Gensler comes from, understands crypto. Hopefully he can do, something there. The problem this year will be, it's about COVID, it's about economic recovery. So we have to make the blockchain conversation about economic recovery and about COVID recovery. And we can, because what we're doing is actually creating a new marketplace, creating opportunity for small businesses to thrive. So we need to get into those policy conversations.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, I want to shout out all of the women that are in the crypto space. So anybody can answer this. Who are some of the women that are making waves in the space that my viewers may or may not know about, that they should know as far as women in the crypto space?
I guess I'll start. Obviously, we talk we talk a lot about Dawn Dixon and Popcom, so we have to shout her out. And obviously, Tavonia is on with us, and what she's doing with Guap Coin is incredible. But there's a lot of dynamic Latinx women. Fulvia Morales is a great one. Asian Pacific American women who are just doing incredible, great things. Karen Yu is a great example. She runs Blockchain by Women. So when you look at gender equity in crypto, Black women, Latina women, the Asian Pacific American women, millennial women, LGBTQ folks, doing some great things. And we're in the blind spot of the ecosystem, which we have to stop, right? Because we're actually fueling the industry. But that was just a few.
Oh, yeah. Do you have any more, Nisa or Tavonia?
Well, I just wanted to comment on the last comment, if I may, about how important blockchain is to social impact and policy. And that's what we focus our fund on, actually. We're not a crypto trading fund. We invest in the use of blockchain technology in multiple areas, such as healthcare, climate change, supply chains, legal identity, et cetera. And in all these different areas, there is so much progress happening. And I think what gets lost is in the media that this is not really covered. It might be in 2 years' time, but right now everybody's focused on the price of crypto. And that's great and that's important. And we can take the lessons that we've learned from crypto and DeFi and apply the innovation. But I think that's the conversation that has to happen from a policy standpoint. For instance, on infrastructure, which is a big Biden push, there tokenization of infrastructure loans happening, right? That make it easier for other participants to fund them and to actually build roads and bridges. There's the financial inclusion conversation on the payment side or remittance. And so there's so many different conversations that I think are not happening or not reaching, the right people in government.
if I could jump in there, I would say working in Washington, living in Washington, doing the crypto policy piece, those conversations are happening. The issue is the people in Washington just don't buy the financial inclusion, angle. What we've had is we've had folks from Facebook and others making this case for financial inclusion, where a lot of members are saying, well, we've seen this story before, right? Wasn't tech supposed to decentralize and create opportunity? So the crypto community has a lot more work to do, and especially when we have a black eye like Coinbase having a war on inclusion. We have to do better, because the financial inclusion conversation is absolutely there, but no one, very few people in Washington trust the crypto community to solve the problem, and we have to address that. And even the infrastructure bill, you're absolutely right. Digital infrastructure has to be a part of that conversation. But again, we have to make sure that not just in Washington, but electeds at the state level and at the city level, trust the crypto community, trust that these products can actually be integrated and also can actually, deliver. So we have a lot of work to do. Now, I do want to go back a little bit and say, shout out to Lady Phoenix. Lady Phoenix is in the
Lady
NFT
Phoenix.
space, killing it. So I can't believe I forgot to mention her. But I do think, but going back to the regulatory conversation, we have a lot of work to do. People, the crypto community thinks that they can just make the case that, financial inclusion, all of these pieces, but we're talking to people who are very skeptical, and we need better messengers when we're delivering these messages.
I think that's exactly it. You not necessarily want Facebook to be the messenger. We definitely need some other ones.
I would much rather Tavonia be the messenger. If we need people to be the messenger. I mean, and Tavonia, you can jump in here. Financial inclusion, what are your thoughts on it coming through this space?
Really
Do you think it's...
We brought Tavonia to Washington in 2019 to make that case.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And we just got to keep it going.
We were there in Congress. We were there to make that case. Absolutely. I wanted to add also in terms of regulation, currently, there's a resurgence of the suggestion that projects be given a 3-year period in order to decentralize. I think that's very important. And that's something that actually affected us at Guap directly, because no project starts decentralized. Decentralization is a process. And that's something that you need time and space in order to build. And that's also very important for us, because we are talking to a community that is even farther behind in terms of the digital divide. So whereas it may take 3 years for someone else, it may take 5 years for us to adequately decentralize, because we're teaching decentralization to the people. They have no idea what this is about. And that's been our struggle. So I think that that's a very important bill that's on the table in terms of giving a grace period for decentralization, although I think it needs to be longer than 3 years, of course. So that's one thing. And then also in terms of the voice for financial inclusion and crypto inclusion, I think that's superbly important. And we're suffering at that. Because,
we're not doing a good job, are we?
We're not doing a good job at that, because yes, Facebook shouldn't, Mark Zuckerberg should not have been representing, what financial inclusion could look like. And we need voices to even hear us when it comes to the Silicon Valley solutions, i.e. Coinbase and other places. They need to be able to hear us so that we can tell them what inclusion looks like, and that we can build a template that would be fair in order to on-ramp more inclusive projects, et cetera.
Oh, and that's why I'm glad I have you all here today to, basically speed up that financial inclusion, because again, if we're going to be different from the current financial space, we got to be different. I definitely got to be different. So, I mean, the financial inclusion, that to me is a part of the whole thing. It has to be a part of it or it doesn't work. And, as far as crypto working in the future, I have one last question for each of you to answer. We're going to take a trip into the future, right? So it's the year 2040, and we're talking about financial inclusion. Where do you see the crypto space in the year 2040, and how will women be involved? And do you think we will be financially inclusive at that point? And I'll start with you, Nisa. Where will we be in the year 2040?
I'd like to hope that we are. And it's been, I don't know, 100 years now, and we're still at, the point that we're at, and we've gone backwards during the pandemic. So I'm hopeful that using the rails that are built right now and what we've come up with in this ecosystem, that we can disrupt traditional allocators of capital. We can disrupt pensions, endowments, and sovereign wealth funds that are really controlling the access and the trickle-down effect. And I'm hopeful that we will see, in particular in venture capital, a world that looks much different than it does now. At our fund, we lower the minimum for women and minorities to participate with us. That's just one thing that we can do, but we're only one fund. And there are only 6% women in venture. If we could get to 50, or if we could get to 50% of our investors in our fund that are women and minorities, then we have a much different story. And so we're really trying to get there. I hope it doesn't take till 2040.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully it comes before then. And Tavonia, let us know, what will it look like in the year 2040 for you in the crypto space?
Well, I think in terms of crypto, it's going to look, in terms of the financial side, it's definitely going to mimic our current financial system in terms of we have many currencies. We have currencies that represent countries at this time, countries and culture. I think that we're going to see a replication of that, currencies that represent cultures, your affinity groups, what you believe in, etc. Because spending with your belief system is very powerful. And I think that once people catch on to how powerful that is and how powerful a vehicle blockchain is to present that, they're going to be all with it. You know what I mean? And you're going to see you're going to see cultures, you're going to see indigenous people with their own currencies. You're going to see all of that kind of rise up, and that's going to represent the products and the services and the input that they have. They want to be able to see the impact that they can have. And this is the perfect way to see that.
Love it. And Cleve, let's take us to year 2040. What do you see in the crypto space?
Oh my God, 20 years from now, I'm going to echo what Tavonia said. Not everyone recognizes the fact that this country is browning. This marketplace is diverse. Consumers today demand more of their companies, and also they require for companies to be accountable. So I do think that the cryptocurrency space will evolve. We definitely know that Bitcoin will survive and continue to be, but I think projects like, XRP and Ethereum will actually evolve and integrate. I do think in the crypto community, we're making so much concessions on decentralization that a lot of crypto will be absorbed by traditional finance, and because they have the marketplace, they can get it to market, and the crypto community will suffer from, again, the focus. So the focus on store of value is so much so that we're catering to Wall Street. We're targeting high net worth investors where we're not focusing on, the ecosystem, the culture, as Tavonia said. But that's where the money is. That's where the consumers is. And innovators of color, they have access to this younger, browner marketplace, consumer base. And that's the future of crypto. It's inclusive, it's diverse, and it's vibrant.
Absolutely. And again, like you said, if we're going to make it diverse, inclusive, we want projects out there that you can support. And, Nisa, I did want to ask you as a VC, what are some of the projects that you have that, 20 years from now, in 2040, what will they be doing in the crypto space? Some of the ones you're invested in. Yeah,
so we're invested in a number of different now banks that got their OCC charter granted. I think fintech is slowly creeping into every other industry. Some of the ones in healthcare that are solving problems of, contact tracing or clinical trial coordination or vaccine rollouts, for instance, we aren't going to have a lot of the same kind of problems that have been exposed during the pandemic by using this technology. And that's really what the future is. And that's what we're investing in.
Oh, yeah. You love to hear it. And of course, looking towards the future. Again, I'm one of those people. I always look towards the future, try and plan for it. So I did want to ask, what do you think we can do for the young girls out there to get involved in the space so that in 20 years, they are the ones, running the market or involved in the crypto space? What can we do to impact our young girls?
Well, last year I did a STEM class with young girls on wallets and et cetera, and, just installing their wallets and getting coins and getting into trading ecosystem, and they loved it. So I think that we need to make sure that we pour more money to extend STEM into covering blockchain technology. I think we need more of that. We need more camps for kids with crypto and blockchain. Kids love money too, so they'll love crypto. We need. And
let me tell you, Tavonia, I'm actually teaching a Bitcoin summer camp for kids. Would love to have you come in because they need to get it. I got my Guap coin wallet, so can't wait to introduce it to the kids as well. But yes, sorry to get you off there.
Love to be there. That's what we need. We need more stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. I'll add that.
Sorry. From an investing point of view, I'm on a board of an organization called Girls Who Invest, and they take slightly older women, probably college age, and train them in how to get into that. And so it's currently set up at Wharton and a bunch of other schools, and we're training them in how to understand blockchain and crypto.
That's beautiful. We need to get that on a lot of college campuses. So yes, that's beautiful. And Cleve, what do you?
Yeah. So I'll add that I actually was part of a high school program in New York City called Blockchains for Schools, where every weekend, blockchain industry leaders would come and meet with high school students from Bronx Science and Stuyvesant and talk about blockchain. And I'm actually in DC trying to replicate that with DC public schools. We need to do more of those projects where we actually just interface, industry leaders with high school students. They're very savvy about crypto, but some of the trends we can actually, go into more detail. Recently, the state of Georgia passed the bill that actually requires high schools to teach financial literacy, and blockchain was one of those conversations. I want to shout out to Morgan State University. As an HBCU, Morgan State has created an incredible program where right now they actually have the resources. They're doing workshops for faculty at other HBCUs to teach them, because you can't have students on college campuses wanting to have curriculum when the faculty doesn't understand it. So Morgan State is actually doing workshops for professors, as well as giving grants to other HBCUs so that they can begin to create their own program. So we need to resource it, but it's not just capital. Blockchain, industry leaders have to commit to go to some of these universities, and Florida International University is one that I'm working with right now. They actually have a large Latinx population, so there's ways that we can actually connect with young Zoomers in college and in high school.
Oh yeah. So if you're watching this show right now, you saw it. We have for kids, we have a high school level, we have college level. So there's no reason why in the future, next 20 years, we can't have a very diverse and financially inclusive crypto and blockchain space. So we got to get it done, people. It just got to do the work. And I hate that we have to end it. I love this conversation. We might need to bring back a part 2. But that's it for this episode of Community Crypto. Thank you to Nisa Amoils, Tavonia Evans, and Cleve Mesidor. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.